Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I am Joe Finley, and today we are looking at another product from Rode, the RØDE Wireless Go II. Now, this particular unit is on loan to me from CGM. I'll be doing a written review of this as well. You'll be able to find the link down below. Is it possible to do that thing that you thought would work as a kid, where you'd see something up on the shelf and you'd be like, you'd look really sad, and then Rode would see that you were sad and go, okay. Not that I'm suggesting anything. These are just thought experiments. But let's talk about what you get in the box. So you have 3 USB-C to USB-A cables, 3 attachable Windsocks, a short TRS cable with memory cord so it actually bends and kind of sticks in place, kind of like a pipe cleaner, a soft covered neoprene style carrying case, then obviously the stars of the show, the receiver and the 2 transmitters. Now I say 2 transmitters because I have the dual channel version. There is a single channel version as well. It is cheaper. It's just the 1 transmitter though. So we'll talk about prices at the end of the video. But this is the size that we're looking at. Quite small. It's actually smaller than I initially thought. I don't really know what size I was expecting, but this, you can tell by the screen, is the receiver, and then this is your transmitter. So looking at the receiver, if you look at the screen, you'll actually see the levels jumping up and down for each individual microphone. Depending on whether you have it split or merged, you'll see either 2 channels at the top or 1 channel. We'll talk about that in a little bit. You'll see the status of both microphones, numbered 1 and 2, whether or not they're connected, what their battery life is, and you can see the levels on that. And then in the center, you have a little bit more information. It's the battery life of the receiver itself, and just above it is where you set your gain. At the very top, you'll see the RØDE O, and that's your power button, and it's also a function button depending on how you have it set up. And on the bottom, you see 2 more buttons. There's a mute button on the left, and then the connection button on the right. On the left of the device, you see a USB-C input, and there's also an output to connect to your camera. And on the back is the clip, so you can clip it to yourself or use it for another function, which we'll talk about. Now, looking at the transmitter, if you look at the top left, you'll see 2 different LED lights. The one on the right indicates the power, and the one on the left indicates the connection to the transmitter. If it's powered on and not connected to the transmitter, it'll probably be flashing blue. You'll also notice this on the transmitter because even though it's powered on, you'll notice that it's indicated that it's not connected there. On the bottom, you have the power button, which can also do different functions depending on how you set it up. And then on the top, you have your microphone, as well as a 3.5mm input for any kind of external mic. And on the back, also a clip. So connecting your transmitter to a camera, quite simple. The clip itself is actually the right size for the camera's shoe. So you just open up the clip a little bit and just slide it directly into the shoe, and then it's mounted neatly onto the camera. If you have one of those multi-shoe adapters, it would just go onto one of them. The whole thing would go on here. Now, all you need to do is take that TRS adapter, plug it directly into your receiver, and then plug the other end directly into the camera. So you can see it's actually really clean when it's all set up on your camera. To hook it up to a computer is crazy simple. All you need to do is plug it in using one of your USB-C to USB-A cables. It'll show up in any recording device as Wireless Go II RX, and will receive both mics no problem. And if you want to use the Wireless Go II on your phone for vlogging, or if you want to record a podcast with it or anything like that, all you have to do is get a USB-C to USB-C cable. A little shocked that one isn't included in the package, but that's neither here nor there, and just hook it directly into your phone, and it should immediately recognize the mic. So we got these adorable little Windsocks here. If you need to actually use these, if you're going to go outside, I would recommend it. I don't think this microphone would be the best for a windy day otherwise. All you have to do is slide the hard plastic part of the Windsock over top of the microphone and then give it a twist to lock it in place. And then it looks like this. So then at this point, you would just clip it onto yourself. If you've got a button shirt or something, ideally you'd want to clip it kind of down here. I'll just kind of do that as an example. You don't want it too up on your neck, because I see a lot of people clip it like here. Less than ideal for obvious reasons, especially with my neck. Also work if you had a short pocket, you can just clip it on here. It's a very good spot for it. Or if you're vlogging and you got a backpack on, you can clip it onto your backpack. There's any number of options as far as attaching this. But if you don't want to use this on your person, because A, you don't want to have somebody else's branding sitting in your shot, or you think this is a little bit clunky to show on screen, then that's where we go to our next option. And that's where this happy little fella comes in. This is our good friend, the Lavalier. This is the RØDE Lavalier 2, also on loan from CGM. And it's a really nice, discreet lav. Now, it's not the only lavalier that'll work on these. Anyone that has the right connection will do that, but this is the one I have, and it's very pretty, and let's be brand loyal for a bit. So you would just plug into the transmitter, you'd hook up the mic to yourself. Now, obviously, you don't want this cable all floating around, so all I'll do is discreetly hide it, like so, and then I could just clip this to my belt or my pocket or something like that. Now, let's take a minute to hear what it sounds like when it's hooked up to all 3 different devices using the mic itself and the lav. Okay, so right now we're hooked up to the computer. I've got this set up through OBS, which was really, really simple. Took just a couple of seconds to do. And I'm going to switch back and forth between this microphone right here and this one right here, which is plugged into the transmitter that's in my pocket. Now, the cool thing is the receiver actually receives these as two individual mono channels, which go out as your stereo pair. That way, when you go into post, you can separate them as two mono channels, and then you can actually edit and manipulate each individual microphone transmission separately. Okay, so now we're hooked up to my camera. This is the Sony ZV-E10. And what's really cool about this is it's actually recording each individual microphone on a single channel on a stereo pair. So left channel is one microphone, right channel is the other microphone. If you need to isolate one, you can do that in post quite easily just by making it a mono track and selecting which side you want. And you can separate the tracks that way so that you can actually manually manipulate each individual person who's speaking, because people speak at different tones, different volumes, all that kind of thing. And sometimes you have to make up for it a little bit in post. Okay, so now I'm hooked up to my phone. I've got a really long USB-C to USB-C cable. It was all I had. You can buy smaller ones, which I would recommend. The only thing I don't like, it doesn't really, you'd have to clip it onto your phone unless you have a good selfie stick where you have a good spot to clip it onto. One of their competitors actually has a really good solution to this. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but you can see again, I'm clipped on here, I'm clipped on here. Okay, so noticing a few things right off the bat. Obviously, you're going to have a little bit less noise when you're using the lav as opposed to using the mic itself. They're both omnidirectional mics, but typically speaking, the lav is going to pick you up a little bit more. You still got noise on that one, but it wasn't quite as much as going directly from the transmitter. Something else you'll notice is that the camera's audio was just a little bit hot. Something you got to be mindful is the actual gain set in the camera. You want to bring that down and utilize the gain just on the RØDE Wireless Go II to be your main control point. And let's say that you don't want the mic actually clipped onto you at all. You don't want to use a lav and you don't want the transmitter anywhere on you. Well, Rode came up with a solution to that too. The Rode Interview Go. Did that look as cool as I wanted it to look? So it's actually a really simple setup. All you have to do, you take off your windsock and you see this little clip kind of thing here, and you take your transmitter and just slide it on like so, and then put your windscreen back on. And then you can just talk into it like it's a regular microphone. It's recording directly here and still going directly to your receiver. So I'm here talking to my wife right now, and I just wanted to know, what do you think about all the gear that I've got around the house?
I want a divorce.
Couple other features we haven't really talked about. One we sort of mentioned because as I was recording one microphone into one channel, the other microphone into the other. If you press in the bottom buttons of the receiver for 3 seconds simultaneously, it'll actually switch to a merged mode where both transmitters will mix into one pair. And whenever you're in merged mode, you get another important option, which is your safety channel. And all that's doing is taking the exact same recording, but actually recording it at a lower gain. So in case you're in a place where things are too hot, or even like that camera situation that I just had, it will record a version that was slightly backed off on the gain so that I would have something quieter to be able to work with, and I wouldn't have to worry about any peaking or anything like that. And another thing the actual transmitters do is they actually record internally. There's no record button to hit on there. What you need to do is go into the Rode Central app. You can do this via the phone or via the computer, and you can actually change the settings of the transmitters to record. You'll notice once you set that up, whenever the transmitters are connected to the receiver, a little record icon will appear above the connection indicator. Now, a couple of things that it didn't have that I want to talk about are actually traits of its biggest competitor, the DJI mic. A couple of things that just struck me right away just when I opened up the package. The DJI mic's case is actually a charger for the whole thing, so it all organizes really nicely, and when you plug it in, it's all charging simultaneously. The RØDE Wireless Go II, you're charging everything separately, using 3 different USB-C cables to get everything charged at the exact same time. You can actually buy some third-party chargers that actually will allow you to put them all in one spot, which is nice, but I feel like Rode should have done that, or at least made one available to you to buy. And another one I mentioned briefly is the way that the DJI mic has created a solution to connect to a phone. It actually snaps right onto the phone, and you can see the screen right in front of you, and it sits nice and snug with your phone when you're doing that, whereas they don't really have a solution like that for the RØDE Wireless Go II. Again, you're just going to need to get creative. If you've got a long enough cable, you could just throw it in your pocket if you're just vlogging and just holding something against yourself, but otherwise you're trying to find a place to clip it on a handle or clip it to your phone. I think a nicer solution could have been found other than having to acquire a selfie stick or some kind of handle that might have a cold shoe on it, some place where you can mount it. And the last thing about the receiver is just the location of the actual screen. On the DJI mic, the receiver is actually front facing. So if you have it mounted on your camera or on your phone or wherever, you're looking at your levels, menus, all that when you're facing everything towards yourself. If you're vlogging with a camera and it's mounted to the shoe, the screen's actually facing straight up. So if you accidentally muted a mic or something like that, you wouldn't actually be able to see it as it was happening. You'd actually have to keep tilting down and checking the indications on the screen to be able to see that. Now the question is, Should any of that stop you from loving the Rode Wireless Go II? Nope. The Wireless Go II is a fantastic portable solution. It's Rode. It has the reputation of really good audio quality, which it does have. And using them, especially if you're using them with a lav or something like that, is a much sleeker and more kind of compact and discreet alternative to having something like a shotgun microphone or that on top of your camera if you're vlogging. Okay, so let's talk price. The dual channel version that I use today, $249.99 US right now. If you have no need for the dual microphone system and you just want the single microphone system, you can get that for $179.99 US. But I want to know what you think. Let me know how you thought it sounded on this video, or if you have it already and have been using it in your own productions, let me know how you've enjoyed it. You can do all that down in the comments. And while you're scrolling down there anyways, if you've made it this far, we might as well hit like and hit subscribe, hit the bell, all those good things. And until next time, gang, let's get to work.